Welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly podcast featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 192, Evolve. And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Good morning and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm the host, and I'm here today in 818 Studios with my producer.
Good morning, everybody. This is Dave Croft. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 192 of the Authentic Spiritual Journey. As always, I want to be the first to welcome you to a brand new week. Hope that you had a stellar weekend, and it's going to be a good one. I feel it.
Yes, it's going to be a great week. Let's claim that for each other, for the world. Man, we're all wanting to wake up and really remember that the universe supports us and that we are 100% responsible for our lives. And you know what I've discovered, friends, is that's kind of unusual and it's a little unpopular because it's just so much easier if we can blame somebody else. But I want to be the one to say, I want to be the voice for, we are souls on the spiritual journey. We are desiring, at the level of the soul, always to grow, prosper, and finally evolve, right? And I'm going to have Dave in just a minute read a definition for us. And but I want to talk first about grow, prosper, and evolve. We talk a lot about growth, and we talk a lot about prospering. And today, I really want to talk about your soul evolution. It is time, friends, to evolve. How do I know? Because the world is making us, whether we want to or not. So I am a studier of consciousness, and I can always tell when there is a worldwide change. And of course, without saying it, I'm speaking of the pandemic. And we have had to learn new ways of working, new ways of relating, new ways of being. And nobody I know was really excited about this way to learn, but here we are. And so we want to just slow down a little bit. What does it mean to evolve? We hear people talk about it. I see bumper stickers that say, evolve, and then the behaviors of some of those people really are not evolved. So, it's a goal. We all have this desire to grow, but in our soul, there is this this tiny aspect that always is pulling us forward. It is desire that pulls us forward, that helps us evolve. And when we're not 100% willing, Spirit helps us.
Usually finds a way. Here's an opportunity.
Finds a way. Spirit finds a way. Yep. If we get too dug in, Spirit says, oh no, time to go. So Dave, will you read for us? Well, first of all, give us the show title today. I don't think I had to do that.
No, you're on it. The title for today's show is Evolve.
Evolve. Yes. So as we seek to evolve, let's hear it. Is it Webster, Dave, that you pulled up for a definition?
No, it's not Webster. It's actually dictionary.com, and it says evolve, to develop gradually, as in to evolve a scene, to give off or emit as odor or vapors, or the verb. To come forth gradually into being, develop, undergo evolution.
Yes.
To gradually change one's opinions or belief, or in biology, the Darwin, to develop by a process of evolution to a different adaptive state or condition. Ooh, I think I like that one.
Yeah, read that last one again.
To develop by a process of evolution to a different adaptive state or condition.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. So, and I'm not going to get into the evolution creation argument.
Sure.
Because it's obvious to me that if we don't evolve, this line from the movie Shawshank Redemption, if you're not busy living, you're busy dying. you know. And so if we are not evolving, we are not growing, we are not bringing new experiences into our lives. And of course, what gets in the way of our evolving is being comfortable. Being comfortable. And being comfortable can be great. It feels yummy and we know what's next and we think we know what's next. But what I've noticed by working with so many people, thousands of people over the years, is that every time you just think you have life figured out, what happens? A new experience. A new experience. And I think of, I've known many people that this has happened to on the journey where, they stayed in jobs they hated. And then right after they retired, they died. And they never evolved out of the work they were doing. So this is, obviously, I'm speaking about this now on a third dimensional level. And where we want to go with this is the level of the soul. In other words, we want to evolve from rooted in the ego and personality to being rooted in the Christ consciousness, or rooted in God consciousness, or rooted in the higher self, right? So whatever name you call that works for me, the God of your understanding. But the idea in every religion that I know is to align with the God of your religion. In other words, to move towards perfection, knowing full well we all have our human self we're dealing with. We have a past. We have a family of origin. We have past lives. We have situations that have impacted us over the course of our lives. And yet, we are to grow and evolve toward mastery. So, in essence, you are being prepared to be a master of the universe. No small calling. Just happy Monday morning. Yep. You are called to be a master of the universe. I think it must be why I love superheroes so much, because it's about, like when they are coming into their power and realizing, they've got this new awareness on board. And can you imagine if spiritually we did that?
Yeah, it's the origin stories. I agree.
Yes.
They're my favorite superhero movies are origin stories as well. And seeing someone discover who they are, what they can do, and then you finding yourself in them, that's really powerful.
Yes, it is. And, as I was thinking about, what leaders do we have? What spiritual leaders do we have to look up to? Well, astrologically, we're in the age of Aquarius. And if you don't know anything about astrology, no worries. I know very little, but what I know about the age of Aquarius is that it's about us becoming our own master. Now, that doesn't leave out God. Sometimes people from religions that are more fundamentalist, statements like that are scary. But remember that in the Bible, in our holy scriptures, the people that came to visit Jesus were, in fact, astrologers, astronomers, studiers of the stars, and knew and had a grand awareness of what that meant. So I say this to say, as we're seeing across the country and even around the world, people leaving church in droves, what we know is that people are getting tired of a limiting dogma and seeking to find their own experience of God. And what I love about unity, as a philosophy, is that we're not really a religion, but more a way of life. And it's a spiritual, it's a spirituality that helps you live better in the everyday. So in my view, unity is the church of the 21st century, where you can become your own master while knowing God all around you and within yourself. So just think about that, friends. Like, notice how in the last few years, you're being called more and more into your own mastery. And this is a very powerful time. And the reason I wanted to bring this up, especially right now, is because everything third dimensionally in the news, all with the celebrities, all the noise, is about the pandemic, what you do not have, how limited you are, how you can't do this and you can't do that. And, F these people and F those people. There's an us and a them about everything now. And when something gets that loud, what I know is that evolution is being called for. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, basically said, if we don't evolve, we won't survive as a species. It's that simple.
Yep.
It is that simple. It is time to evolve. So let me tell you a little bit about my journey with this. So I'm going to talk about this in relation to my personal healing, where, we all grow up in a family of origin. We've talked about this, off and on since the show started. We all have a part that we play. That part that we play is a limited version of your infinite self. It's your personality. It's how you learned to feel loved and to get your needs met. I say feel loved because it often wasn't love, but we figured out a way to get some kind of nurturing or love so that we could survive. What's so cool is that's how smart your soul was. You knew how to shift and change to get your needs met so you could survive. The problem is when you're trying to get those needs met at a really young age, you start to take on behaviors that are not authentic to you and your journey. You take on behaviors to survive. So if there was violence in the home, you learned how to be very quiet. You learned how to walk through the house without making noise. You learned how to probably be on your own a lot and not make waves. Well, see, this is all personality. You may be this grand energy that's ready to just bust out, but you're so busy being stuck in what was your survival mode, you haven't learned to evolve and thrive yet. And so what happens is we almost live like a double life. And there's this, how we walk through our home and what we think and feel. And what we think and feel very rarely matches our actions, because if we did the things we wanted to do and say, there would be punishment for that. So as you grow and evolve, or as you grow, if you're not evolving, then you're an adult stuck in relationships where you are limiting yourself and the other person by not speaking what's really in your heart. So, I've shared many times about my morning process. And one of the things I find I write often, when I'm affirming peace for the day, like, every morning I do my I am, and then my affirmation is always affirming that. And so it was just yesterday when I was affirming I am peace, the next sentence was, my thoughts and feelings match my words and actions. And that's peace. When my thoughts and feelings match my words and actions. And of course, we all have fleeting thoughts. I'm not meaning you never have a negative thought, but I mean, when you need to speak up, you speak up. When you need to have a tough conversation, you have it. When you need to be quiet, you do that too. But for most of us, it's not saying enough. Yeah, when we grow up in the kind of dysfunction where we feel like we have to walk on eggshells and keep everybody happy. By the way, I've been recently again studying the Enneagram. If you've never studied that, spelled Enneagram, Enneagram. It's a wonderful take on personality types and how we got to where we are. A great starter book is called, we'll have it in the show notes, obviously. It's called The Enneagram Made Easy. And then the second book to take you deeper is from our guest we had some time ago with Eli Jackson Bear. It's called Fixation to Freedom. Fixation to Freedom. So let's go back to our family of origin story. So if you grew up with a lot of people to look after, you might have been the boss, and that's a number 8. Right? You might have been the boss, where one of the ways you got your needs met was making sure everybody did what they were supposed to do. Well, as you get older and go into relationships, not everybody likes to be bossed around. So you're going to learn, this doesn't work anymore. So just give that some thought. Let that just kind of go over, in your mind, and realize that, all of us as souls on the journey have the same journey. We are seeking to wake up to our divine nature. We are seeking to wake up to all that is. We are seeking to live a life on purpose. We're seeking to live a life of peace and joy and sacred activity. We are seeking to, be a bringer of peace to what seems to be a very confused and lost world. So just give that some thought. Like, how are these old issues still trying to hijack your process, and you're trying to evolve? You're trying to evolve. Very often, we're going to need support and help on the journey. I love that so many people around the world are listening to the podcast. We're way over 5,000 a month now, which is really, really wonderful. But sometimes, besides journaling, besides listening to podcasts, besides, reading wonderful authors, you're going to have to do deeper psychological and spiritual work. You may need therapy. You may need an additional physical practice, because evolving is actually, in many ways, arduous and difficult. People that are like, just go into the isness of the allness of the oneness. Usually for me, waking up isn't that easy. For me, there are steps. I feel like I go forward and then go back, and then I go forward and then I go back, and then I'm like, yes, I'm in a new energy, So that's how evolving feels. It's as we start to move forward, a little bit from the past comes up again to make sure we're ready. We have to look at that and deal with that. Then we move again. So it is time for all of us, friends, to evolve. And what most of us do is say, well, I'm evolving, they're not. Well, that is a completely unevolved statement. They're not evolved because of who they vote for. They're not evolved because where they stand on the vaccine. They're not evolved because blah, blah, blah. Think about that, friends. Our goal is to evolve, to wake up to the divine within, to wake up to the reality that the universe supports us 100%. So we're going to talk more about that as we come back in our second half. We'll be back right after these brief messages. Hello, dear friend. I'm really excited about a new course I'm offering beginning Monday, February 21st, Your Spiritual Roadmap. I want to make sure you have the right support for your journey. I want you to be able to navigate the signs that life sends, as well as avoid pitfalls on your spiritual journey. I am excited to be able to give you resource pages, to do some daily work, and to know that you have support for this journey we call life. We already have a few people registered, and we'd love to have you join us on Monday, February 21st at 7 p.m. The course is only 3 weeks long, but it will give you practices and resources for many years to come. So we hope to see you on Monday, February 21st at 7 p.m. Go to my website to register, CynthiaAliceAnderson.com, and book now your spiritual roadmap. I hope to see you then, and blessings on the journey, dear friend. Welcome back. We're glad you're with us. I really was like out of the gate this morning on this topic. I had a lot of energy about it.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the weather.
I know, right? It was like, bam, wow, okay.
Jump in.
She's chomping at the bit. Yeah. Well, the thing is, friends, I just have such a concern right now that even in school, in some of these schools, fights are breaking out over stuff that they're bringing into school from their parents. And if we do not learn how to have conversations, we're asking, well, the old term for it is we're creating a powder keg here. It's when there's two divergent views that will not hear another, we have a major problem. And actually, and as a nation, I think it makes us open to attacks, divisiveness. It's really very, very concerning. So I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this is a fact. This is a fact. We've seen in history, we've seen evolving, we don't believe slavery is good anymore. I think we can all agree that's a bad idea. Well, when did that happen? Well, when there was finally a waking up to the fact that these are humans, right? And are not to be treated this way. Till somebody said, this should not happen anymore. Now some kids in school, they hear about slavery, they can't even imagine it ever happened.
Well, it's like, I remember my first job was at a grocery store, and the produce manager would be putting out produce in the grocery store with a cigarette, like putting
Exactly.
apples in the produce section, ash and everything with a cigarette.
Right. Oh, well, that must have been in North Carolina.
Absolutely, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Home of RJR Tobacco, and prime tobacco country.
Tobacco city there. Well, it's funny. I just was talking about tobacco this morning. I have an old ladder in my home. That's an old drying rack for tobacco because, my family is from that part of the world too. Well, in some areas, speaking of that, are slower to evolve than others. Because of their connection to the past of what they think it means. It's an identity. But the problem is it's a world identity and not a God identity. Yeah, it's a world identity and not a God identity. It used to be, that we like you brought the smoking. I was going to say we used to smoke in airplanes. Remember that? All sharing the same air. And suddenly now, that doesn't happen, and it's never going to happen again. That is done. Humanity decided this is really a bad idea. So it's like, sometimes we feel like things are happening all outside of us and, the government control and all of that. Well, the government theoretically works for us. And if we're not being clear in our intentions and about what we see as possible, we're going to keep calling to ourselves these politicians who are so rooted in third dimension consciousness. It's like they've forgotten God completely, right? So there is some work to be done in this area. Now, let's get it back to the individual because I know, I could talk for hours about what I'm seeing in the world and politically, and that's important, but for another day. I want today to be about your waking up, because as you wake up, as I wake up, as Dave wakes up, the world changes for the better. So it's like, I just want to be your little cheerleader and go, yay, please try something new. And so, the question, when I first heard about evolving, I thought, well, how do you know when it's time? I want to evolve. Like I heard Jane Elizabeth Hart years ago, say something about you're a soul. You're supposed to evolve. And I was like, I am. But then I looked back at my journey and I thought, for me, I've always wanted to heal. I wanted to live a healed life. I wanted to learn new ways of behaving. And I think we know it's time to evolve when the old way is no longer working. That's how you know when the old way is no longer working. And it's so in your face, you can no longer ignore it. And I'll give you a couple of examples. Health challenges are often wake-up calls. Have you heard them called that? Yeah. It's like, oh man, I got a bad scan, or you heard me share, oh boy, I had a bad blood work. I said, I got a little lazy. I was, driving back and forth to see my mom. And, I think a couple times I had brownies and chips for lunch. That was probably a bad idea. And, it was not very evolved, if I'm being honest. But often a bad test, getting winded as you're running, and you say, my God, I've got to quit smoking. Or, as you're getting winded, as you're walking upstairs going, I got to lose this weight. My knees are hurting. Like it literally hurts to walk around in this body. I've got to do something. I had a good friend who said to me, I have to have a knee replacement. I said, great. When is it scheduled? And she goes, well, that's the problem. And I go, what do you mean? They couldn't get you in. I was like, well, can I help? You want me to call somebody? I went right into help it mode. And she goes, no, this one's on me. And I said, well, what do you mean? She said, I weigh too much. They won't do it. I said, well, that's a wake-up call. And she said, it is. And I'm embarrassed, but you know what? I needed this. I've known I've needed to lose weight. My blood tests come back terrible, but food has always been my go-to for dealing with stress. I said, I know. And I just left it. I know. Well, pretty soon, the pain got bad enough that she put herself on a plan and got her knee replacement, and now is having a second one done on the other knee, right? So she got well enough to not only do one, but two. So think about that, friends. Let's hope we can evolve without those big wake-up calls. For me, one of my wake-up calls has been a health challenge. And I think one of the reasons now I went through it is so I could tell other people the story, and they don't have to get quite to the point that I did. I was just really unaware, that what I was putting in my body was hurting it. I knew I didn't feel good, and I did reach out, and I went to doctors. And when I got so sick, what had happened was that I was losing a lot of weight. And in 1 week, I remember the last week, I lost 5 pounds in a week, and I got down to about 95 pounds. And when I went back into the doctor, they go, oh no, they saw that weight loss that was so quick. And there was a deep level of concern. Well, I went to 5 different doctors, and all of them gave me a different diagnosis. And 2 or 3, I can't remember, wanted to do surgery. One wanted to take out my gallbladder. I can't remember what the other one was. And they were all so far afield from each other, it made me a little nervous that somebody was thinking about cutting on me, and I was thinking they weren't real sure, So I finally said to the last doctor, I said, I don't mean you any disrespect. You have really helped me. I said, but I just need to ask you one question. I am so sick, and I am so worried that I am dying. And she said, you are dying. And I said, I'm scared that you want to do surgery, because can I just ask you one question? Like, are you sure that this is what I need? And she said, no, I'm not. I said, thank you for your honesty. I am leaving. And I went home, started crying. I said, I don't know what to do. I'm in my late 20s. I have a music career. I'm playing, I'm conducting, I'm working at a church, conducting a choir there, as a music director. I was working with a youth orchestra. I was playing with a Brazilian band. I was playing, orchestral music and theater gigs. I was teaching. I had a vibrant career. I thought, what is going on? So I happened to live in Seattle at the time, and so this is when we still had phone books. I don't know if any of you remember that. and I opened the phone book to naturopathic medicine, and I put my finger down. I did a drop the finger test. And it just so happened that the doctor where I put my finger down was about a mile from my church job. And it also just so happened she was a teacher at the Bastyr School, which is like the top naturopathic school in the country. And so obviously that was a beginning of a really big shift for me. And she took one look at me and said, "Oh my goodness, honey, sit down." I don't think she said honey, but okay, dear, sit down. And she just painstakingly, took me through. She even used other tests from the other doctors. So it was why am I saying all these details? Well, because it was a completely different way of working. And this was completely unknown to me. So I wasn't interested in natural medicine. I was interested in healing. I was interested in a cure. And if I didn't get one, I was going to die, right? And I'm really glad I didn't do that surgery because I didn't need a surgery. So having said that, that started me on a very different journey where I did a lot of what is considered in the West, in the U.S., is considered alternative medicine. And in many other countries, practices are more integrative with allopathic and homeopathic. But as my journey has continued, this has been over 20 years, about 25 years ago now, my journey is integrative. Because, sometimes you need a doctor to set a bone. Sometimes you need a doctor to prescribe medicine. So, in the beginning, because I had such a bad experience with going to so many doctors, I couldn't figure it out. I was like, forget regular medicine. Well, that is not evolving. You see what I'm saying? So the evolution was bringing in a new type of medicine and then realizing, wow, I can marry these. And I believe, honestly, the future of medicine is going to be much more integrative. Much, much more. I believe, that is going to evolve because it has to. Because there are wonderful doctors out there that know their way of schooling has its limits. Well, certainly this is true in naturopathic too. You can only take so much garlic. Sometimes you need an antibiotic, right? So my journey evolved around my health and around how I take care of my body. And of course, I go up and down. I have frustrations. Like I said, I got really lazy around my mom's illness. It just felt too hard and I needed comfort food. And so then later I was like, you know what? I'm just going to bless that. In some weird way, that was taking care of myself because it got me through the day. And that's what I needed. But this month, it's really funny. I just decided to go off sugar. I picked quite a month, right? February. And I'm going to give myself, though, my birthday to have a little something. But my journey with this has evolved greatly. And it's so interesting now because I have an acupuncturist. I have a regular doctor. And you know what? They both speak the same language because my acupuncturist is a former MD. She was like head of pediatrics and thought, why am I stressing myself out? There's people that come in with things that I'm not able to help them with. I want to learn something new. And she had to go, to receive an alternate therapy. Well, then she evolved. So see what I'm saying, friends? We evolve when the old is not working anymore. So I want you to think about when you turn on the news and you scroll on your phone, is what we're doing working? Is what we're doing working? Is what you're doing in your life working? If you're drinking to go to sleep every night, chances are it's not working. Chances are. If you're eating fried foods every day and clogging up your adrenals, chances are it's not working. So what we seek to do in our work is be in a dynamic conversation and relationship with all that is. So as the universe gives us signs, we want to be able to look at those signs and learn how to navigate. We want to be able to look at those signs and see, wow, okay, this isn't working. And rather than trying the same way over and over and over and over, we want to be free enough and expanded enough to try a new way. You know, I was thinking the other day, I had heard, I'm going to keep bringing this up about what I hear people saying about people demonizing each other. And, you know, I've heard people say, I don't think if people are unvaccinated, they should be treated at an ER. That's like saying we shouldn't treat smokers for lung cancer. Like, where's the compassion? Think about that. We all do dumb stuff. We all do dumb stuff, right? So who are you to decide who gets medical care? I mean, that is how calcified and wrong we've made the other. So just think about that, friends. How are you demonizing the other instead of evolving into, oh, you know what? Help me understand. Where are you coming from? I love you. I bless you. I want to understand where you are. Let's have a conversation. I want to understand. That's evolving. That's evolving. You know, it was really interesting. Several years ago, I was called to do the prayer for a Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. It was in downtown Orlando, and it was freezing cold. And we were going to do a march to the church and everything. And I did it. I did my prayer, and there was a group standing there of clergy. Of course, they were all men. And one of them said, well, after my prayer, said to me, who was Jewish, said, well, you need to learn how to be interfaith. I said, oh, thank you for sharing. Bless you. And I realized he said that because I said Jesus Christ. Interfaith doesn't mean I quit believing in Jesus. It means I honor your belief in Judaism. So evolving is, I have room for you to be a practicing Jew, to be a rabbi and go, oh my goodness, I'm sure there's a lot I could learn from you. And thank you for sharing your faith. And I want to hear you pray. And I'd love to go to Shabbat. And, you know, I've been to naming ceremonies. I've spoken at Jewish synagogues. And obviously the synagogue I spoken was very different from this gentleman. But because I didn't fit into whatever he had in his mind about what interfaith was, he was going to tell me I did it wrong. So just think about how we do that, friends. Just think about, is there a way for you to open your heart a little more? Because look at what we're doing individually, as a culture, and ask yourself, is it working? Or is it time to evolve? Is it time to evolve? My hope, my prayer is that we will evolve, that we will make space and expand into the higher love that Jesus showed us. And that we can learn to make space for ourselves, the places where we kind of miss the mark and have to try again, and also be willing to move into uncomfortable territory to be willing to move into uncomfortable territory and be okay and know that this is God guided, that we are 100% supported by the universe. And when we know that, we can make room for nearly anybody. So think about it, friends. How are you being called to evolve individually? How is your individual life interrelating with the collective? But no, we love you. We support you on your journey. We always, always pray and lift you up for God's highest and best in your life. Thank you for joining us today, friends. Many blessings.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2022, Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.